All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Trading Bitcoin. I am your host, Tone Vays, coming to you live around 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Let's go to the charts. I'm going to do my best to keep this one short. I'll also do my best to stay away from politics. All right, weekly chart. Today is already Wednesday. We're almost halfway through the week. And we're still fully stuck behind the long-term moving average. That is not a good sign. That is a sign of intermediate term downtrends. So we wait till the end of the week and then reevaluate. Not much we can say about that chart now. Our Consensio location chart, according to pure Consensio, it is calling for 100% bearish allocation. I refuse to put bearish allocations on the chart of Bitcoin that is down 65%. Therefore, we wait to buy the perfect dip. Our daily chart, hard to believe that we crashed already almost a week ago. We crashed on the 19th. Today is already the 24th. We're 5 days into it. And we are trending up. We're trending up very, very slowly. That does us absolutely no good. The intermediate term moving average continues to come down. And this is not a good sign. We need to go up, and we need to go up quickly. Otherwise, this consolidation is likely to lead to lower prices. The 4-hour chart actually looks pretty good. We did just get our new 4-hour high close over the last 5 days. It's good, but it's also in no man's land. It's coming up on resistance. I'm going to let this chart prove it to me. And in order for it to prove it to me, unfortunately, it has to go substantially high. It would need to break this MRI resistance line and all the moving averages. So it's got a long way to go to make it past 23,500 before I take the bullish case seriously. The GBTC and its discount remains very depressed as long as Bitcoin stays down. You can see the oil market is starting to rise up again. I remain bullish on oil. I just need to wait for the oscillators to, well, the MACD to flip over a little bit. Having a nice cup of hot tea. Gold is not interesting. S&P, that's a 3-minute chart. We don't need the 3-minute chart. Is this another down day for the S&P? It's a consolidation day for the S&P. The S&P is still not in bad shape, but it's starting to get into bad shape because there is very little I can do to fudge this trend line to make the chart still look bullish, like it's supporting this trend line. In reality, it's more like this. We've broken the trend line. The S&P needs to reverse. If the S&P falls below this MRI support, I would expect significantly lower prices for S&P. Again, most trading is done, most profitable trading is done in continuation, not identifying tops and bottoms. Identifying tops and bottoms is actually very, very hard. It's not crazy hard to profit from trades when you are in the middle of a trend. Okay, we waited for the market to break this prior high to go long. That never happened. When it broke this green arrow worked out. When it broke this green arrow also worked out, but not all the way up. But it did work out for a profitable trade, and then either a stop loss or take some profit. It's up to you. Long-term look, not yet a problem. I know a lot of people are pointing to the rejection of the 200-week moving average. It's possible that that rejection is going to be critical and take us to new lows, but until we break the next moving average, we just don't know. So I remain leaning bullish on the S&P until it proves it to me otherwise. That is pretty much it. I am going to keep an eye on the Ukrainian currency versus the Russian ruble exchange rate. When this hits parity and the ruble becomes more valuable than the Ukrainian hryvnia to the dollar, I think lots of changes will take place inside the borders of Ukraine, because Russia is trying to implement the ruble inside Ukraine, and they will have a much easier time doing so once their currency is stronger versus the dollar than the Ukrainian currency. Because the ruble has a global stage presence and the Ukrainian currency does not. Opposite of their passports. The euro is still below parity with the dollar, which is kind of funny because we haven't seen this in 20 years. But it's not that funny if you're actually living in Europe and you're about to watch your currency devalue greatly against the US dollar. Real quick, on my travel schedule, don't forget, I do have on-demand videos for education on trading and options trading. Options trading is a whole new level. At the Financial Summit in DR, people were blown away by the presentation of John Devine about options. Where is he? That's John Devine. Did an awesome options presentation. You can follow him on Twitter. You can follow him on Instagram. Did a great presentation. He's from Blockfills. Happy to support that company as well. They seem to be doing great stuff. Did a great presentation on intro options, saved me from doing it. And it was really cool. Lots of people are now dying to learn options just by listening to him for an hour or like 40 minutes, whatever that presentation was. The reason options course is so expensive is because this is, you can get it for free online. I would be a little scared. If you got a bunch of free education on options online, God knows what the hell they're teaching you. But I know what I'm teaching you because I used to be an options trader. Calendar. I am off to BitBlock Boom. I will be there tomorrow. And it's going to be a great event. Those that aren't in the US and looking for a conference this weekend, check out Surfing Bitcoin. If you go there and you found out about it from here, let them know. Tell them, hey, Tom sent us. It's another Bitcoin-only conference. They're all over the world now. Please follow the Financial Summit on Instagram. We're about to post a giveaway for a free room in Bali. Free entry, free room in Bali. Only one person this time. We ended up with a few extra rooms in the Dominican Republic because I pre-booked too many rooms. That's not going to happen. Well, it wasn't just me. There is a whole company behind this. But we booked a few too many rooms in the Dominican Republic. That's not going to happen in Bali. Bali will sell out. We do not have as many rooms in Bali as we did in the Dominican Republic. In the Dominican Republic, we had like 70 rooms. In Bali, we only had 50 rooms. So people are starting to register. People are starting to sign up. And we will sell out Bali. And also follow us on Twitter. We're about to start tweeting quite a bit, along with the YouTube channel, where I'm probably going to start posting educational videos. I don't really have much else to add. I'll glance at your live chat. I have not kept up with the military summary channel, which is one of the channels I really like to know what's going on the ground. You can see it as one of the channels I follow right there, military summary. It's somewhat unbiased. It feels like it leans a little bit towards Russia over Ukraine, slightly, but at the same time, he's using Western maps that favor Ukraine over Russia. So I think it balances out as he describes the changes in red versus white in this conflict. People seem to be upset at my statements yesterday that Estonia and Lithuania are aggressing towards Russia. They find that inaccurate and laughable. But what you have to understand is your opinion on whether Estonia and Lithuania are aggressing towards Russia are completely irrelevant. My opinions on whether Estonia and Lithuania are aggressing towards Russia is completely irrelevant. Joe Biden, if he knew what day it was, his opinion on whether Lithuania and Estonia are being aggressive towards Russia, his opinion is also irrelevant. The only opinion that matters, whether Estonia and Lithuania are aggressing towards Russia, is Russia and Putin specifically. So if Putin believes that, let me click on that. If Putin believes that Estonia and Lithuania are aggressing towards his country, even by staring at him the wrong way, that's the opinion that matters, because he's the one with the military that's going to go in and kill these people. So your opinion of my opinion doesn't matter. My opinion doesn't matter unless you are capable of putting yourself in Russia's point of view on the situation. You are not able to comprehend the situation at hand. So if Estonia is harboring a Ukrainian fugitive that Russia feels very strongly Estonia needs to hand over, then in the eyes of Russia, Estonia is aggressing towards Russia. And who knows what they're going to do to Estonia because they're angry, right? Again, your opinion, whether your friend aggressed towards my dog or not, is irrelevant. It's actually the opinion of my dog, whether he felt that he should attack your friend because they looked at him the wrong way, right? Like, it's the dog's opinion that matters, because that's the one that's doing the attacking. And this is one of the things that people just don't understand, especially in geopolitics. Someone was asking me, how are they being aggressive? Well, I just explained it to you. If Russia made a very strong statement to Estonia to hand over a fugitive that killed a Russian national that isn't part of the war, and Estonia laughs it off and tells Russia to go fuck themselves, they're not going to be very happy. So your opinion that that is not a big deal is actually irrelevant. The only opinion that matters is Russia. Same thing with Ukraine, right? Russia had an opinion that Ukraine joining NATO was aggressing towards Russia. Ukraine felt that them joining NATO is not aggressing towards Russia, and that Ukraine is a sovereign nation and they can do whatever they want. And if they want to join NATO, then they're perfectly within their global rights to do so. And Russia disagreed. So again, the only opinion that mattered was Russia, not Ukraine, not US, not Estonia, not Lithuania, not the residents of Moldova, not the residents of Swahili. None of their opinions matter. The only opinion that mattered was Russia. Hence, we're in this shitstorm of death in Ukraine. I don't have to guess how the war in Ukraine is going to end. It's going to end very badly. Like there's no, like there is no good resolution here. There is no good resolution here. There was a very clear way that Ukraine could have avoided all bloodshed. There was a clear way that Ukraine could have avoided additional bloodshed, but there was zero interest from Ukraine nor the West to do so. And that would have been full surrender to Russia. It doesn't mean that Russia would have taken over all of Ukraine. It would have been that the Donbass would have been its own country or part of Russia. It would have been stopping the, allowing fresh water to get to Crimea. It would have been actually going through with the Minsk II agreement, or Minsk I or Minsk II agreement, which Ukraine never intended on, fulfilling. It would have meant doing a lot of that stuff, and it probably would have saved 1 million lives in Ukraine. But there was, Ukrainians are proud people, and they will continue to fight till the last Ukrainian. There is no good resolution out of this at this point. If they surrender now, they will have to give up 8 times more land than they initially would have had to do. Maybe not 8 times, but like 3 times more land than they initially would have had to do had they either agreed to peace with Russia before the invasion or within a month after the invasion. But there is no good way this ends. There's a high probability somebody's getting nuked. I have no idea who it would be. It could be Russia. It could be Lithuania. I doubt it would be Lithuania, because then the radiation is going to go into Russian area of Kaliningrad. Could be Ukraine. Could be Poland. Could be UK. I have no idea. Could be Russia. Could be Finland. I have no idea. Anonymous one, you seem to in your statement is grossly inaccurate. Your statement is, I call the cops. There's no cops to call. There are no cops to call. Russia is the biggest cop in this region. That's it. That's the problem. The problem is there's no cop to call. Ukraine thought that the cop would be the United States to come and save the day, but they're not coming. So there's no cop to call. Lamy, you're welcome to go and help Ukraine. Ukraine is accepting all people to come pick up an AK-47 or another weapon and go, fight the Russians on Ukrainian soil. This statement of we have to help Ukraine, who's we? You are an individual. You have the ability to go and help Ukraine. This we thing is we have to help them, so we're going to steal from these people and give it to those people to go help those people. There is nothing stopping you from going and helping Ukraine. Artem, your statement of Russia would have invaded Ukraine anyway is a disprovable, unfactual statement. You cannot prove it. It's an unprovable statement. Like, we can't say what would have happened. We don't know what would have happened. Ukraine is not accepting people without military experience. Great, then go join the military, get some military experience, and then go and help Ukraine. I mean, there again, you are your own person. There is nothing stopping you from doing things. Like what's with this? Like, we have to do something. Like, no, you can start doing something by example. There is nothing stopping you from doing it. It is possible Russia could have invaded Ukraine anyway. It's possible. Ukraine, I mean, this Ukraine should have been divided based on main language. Like, when the Soviet, in hindsight, when the Soviet Union split up, this region, Crimea and Donbass, should have been Russia. That would have been avoided. That would have avoided a lot. Had this region, all of this area, including Odessa, well, maybe not, Odessa's 50-50, right? But 80% of the region west of the Dnipro River, and all of this that is currently red, plus a bunch of more red, should have been Russia when the countries broke up. That would have likely avoided this war. This area was assigned to Ukraine by the Soviet Union leaders like Khrushchev and the guy that came after Khrushchev. All of this area was assigned to Ukraine because they came from this area. Like, they were born here. Like, the leaders, I mean, after Stalin was a Georgian. After Stalin, the Khrushchev, and I forgot the guy that came after Khrushchev, they were both from this region. And they assigned this region to Ukraine. And it stayed as Ukraine from the 50s all the way through the 80s. And then when Russia broke up in 1991, that's where the line was. Had those two leaders never assigned this region to Ukraine, this would have still been Russia when the countries broke apart in 91. And a lot of this shit might have been avoided, and less people would have died. Like, everything I've ever said about Russia, Ukraine was to avoid death, and I don't understand why people are angry at me about it. Brezhnev, thank you. Yes, Brezhnev. Brezhnev and Khrushchev, they were both from that region. And that region was Russia when Khrushchev took power first. I think it was Khrushchev before Brezhnev. I don't really remember. They kept assigning more and more land to Ukraine. Why did they do that? I don't know. Go ask them, but they're dead. Samuel, your statement makes absolutely no sense at all. In order to prevent a total collapse, Russia needs to go into war and lose people and spend money and invade another country to prevent the collapse. That's not how society works. You really need to read some history books. So California used to be Mexico. Yeah, it used to be Mexico. And guess what? If Mexico is 10 times stronger and bigger and have a huge military strength and way better economics, Mexico may go and take that land back. It'll be harder. California has a lot of guns. But if Mexico was 10 times stronger than the California, let's say California becomes its own country, right? Let's say America breaks up, California becomes its own country. And Mexico finds itself in a position where California is being a pain in the ass to Mexico. Mexico is 10 times stronger than California. They have a better military, and Mexico knows Texas ain't gonna come and help California if Mexico decides to take their land back from 200 years ago. How is California going to stop them? Right? I'm not telling you what's right. I'm just telling you reality of the situation where borders change every single month somewhere in the world. And if California is ever its own country and it pisses off Mexico, then Mexico will come and take it. Especially if Mexico knows ain't no one's coming to help Cali. What is stopping them? Well, right. I mean, like the USA would have to be broken up. The USA would have to collapse from within the way Rome did, which is, we're on our way to do that. The question is when. Is it this decade, next century? But it's coming. I briefly commented on, I commented it just now as well. Again, Russia identified and showed proof of the killer of that girl with the car bomb. They identified the killer crossed into Estonia. Again, I don't know how true that is. The video could have been doctored. Like I don't know if it's true or not, but no one in the West is interested in proving whether Russian claims are true or not. The West just ignores Russian claims, right? They're not interested in proving them, disproving them. They're not interested in cooperating with Russia. And Russia asked for the criminal to be turned over. And that's all I know. And everyone is just laughing at Russia's request. And that's not gonna end very well. Again, ignoring the bully is not going to prevent the bully from hurting you. Just telling it like it is, guys. Who's right and who's wrong eventually becomes irrelevant when one country invades another, right? I think US stock market will rise. I'm not that bearish on the stock market. Because Yeah, apparently, as people are saying, Stalin also added land to Ukraine. Like, for some reason, all these Russian leaders who weren't actually Russian, who were from like regions of other parts of the Soviet Union, seem to all want to give land to Ukraine, and here we are. Ukraine is now a huge country, and Russia wants some of that land back. And they're in a position to take it back, because they're a stronger military power and no one's there to stop them. I'm actually half Ukrainian. In case anyone's wondering where I was born between here and Moscow. I was born over here. But one of my parents is from right here, where at the moment there would where there's almost fighting going on, or it might have been this new red territory right here. I've spent way more time in Ukraine than I did in Russia as an adult. In the last 10 years, I've only gone to Russia like twice, and I've gone to Ukraine like over a dozen times. This won't be over. This will escalate into a giant European shit show. I don't see this coming to an end. I only see this escalating, involving other nations. I don't see this ending in any good way whatsoever, because no one is interested in listening to the other side. No one is interested in listening to Russia's concerns, and unless someone is willing to listen to Russians' concerns, this is not going to stop. It will just keep going. It will just keep going. Eventually, stronger weapons will be used, so that if Russia gets tired of losing their military, they're going to start using a lot like serious missiles that they'll start firing on civilians. Eventually, it's going to escalate. That's why I'm telling my Ukrainian friends, get out of there if you can. Most aren't interested, but get out of there if you can. Well, what do you mean? Why do you feel badly about the Russian people not being able to speak out? American people aren't able to speak out against what they don't like. You know, you get your channel censored, you get arrested for walking into the Capitol and taking a selfie, prison for 5 years. The United States has more political prisoners in prison than Russia does. Like, why do you feel bad for Russian people, but you don't seem to feel bad for American people? I got a few friends. Actually, a couple are about to be sentenced over the Capitol stuff. Many others have, been visited by the secret police here. I know a few people sitting in prison. I don't see a big difference between the two countries. I really don't. You have an illusion. You have an illusion that you have a freedom of speech here. It's not that different. Yeah, that is true as well, right? If you speak out against Zelensky in Ukraine, you would also go to jail. They're all the same. They're all the same, guys. Yeah, Canada. You donated $20, you got your bank account frozen. How is that better? How is that more freedom for you? Edward Snowden is still in Russia. It's the only place he can hide from America. Again, I'm not being pro-Russia. I'm just saying, like we need to deal with our own problems first. There needs to be some freedom of speech in this country, and then we can talk about other countries. Need to get shit together here. Need fair elections. Need some honesty. Some politicians that aren't total crooks. The U.S. needs to clean up its shit first before they start telling the rest of the world what to do. Yeah, Russia actually went less tyrannical over the vaccine than the United States did. Well, what else can you say about Bitcoin before I turn this off? Oh, there goes my attempt to make a short stream and not go too political. Like, I would worry what Russia's going to do if they're not advancing fast enough. If they're not advancing fast enough and assuming and achieving their objectives, they are more likely to escalate the situation than de-escalate. So everyone seems to be happy that Russia is moving very slow. That could end very badly. In my opinion, when Russia takes a certain chunk of land and creates a bigger buffer zone between Russia and the West, they will stop. That's my opinion. That could be completely wrong. Russia could take over Ukraine, and then, you know, Belarus, Lithuania, Poland. I mean, I don't think they'll be able to, but who the hell knows? I don't know what they're thinking. I don't know what they're doing. In my opinion, is that eventually they will stop on their own. But if they're not moving there fast enough, they will escalate and more people will die. Because I don't think they will stop until they take a certain amount of land. If you're curious what I think that land is, probably this area here. I don't think they'll take Kiev. I think they'll take, like, I'm just gonna make a simple diagram. Actually, I should have done it the other way. How do I clear this? Cancel. I should have done this. Something like that. And this little chunk, of course, obviously. So I think if they do this, they'll stop on their own. Again, that's just my opinion. I think that is where they'll voluntarily stop. Unless there is negotiations, unless there is some kind of a peace agreement, unless the US and the UK and the West get involved, and then you know, the war is elsewhere. The war is in Poland, right? Unless I think if Putin's replaced by another leader, it'll be worse for Ukrainians. So I think this is where Russia will stop voluntarily. I think after this, they'll say enough is enough. And this is where we're going to stop. Again, just my opinion. I could be totally wrong. Russia could also be stopped from taking that. But I think at this point, they'll voluntarily stop. Just an opinion. No, of course Russia doesn't want to engage NATO. Why would anyone want to invade a real military force? Of course they don't want to. They won't stop unless they are stopped. Again, that is the counter opinion to my opinion. My opinion is they will stop here. But there was a global opinion that Russia will not stop. So if Russia will not stop, why isn't the world stopping them? Why isn't NATO involved? My opinion, they'll stop there. You can disagree with my opinion. You can say they will never make it this far. You can also say they're not going to stop here. They're going to go all the way to Iceland. Those are the other viewpoints. Right. I'm not sure how someone is lying when they say this is their opinion. I would love to hear logic on that. Right, but do you know why they were trying to take Kiev first? I mean, it's a very easy explanation. They sent a very small amount of troops to Kiev because maybe they would get lucky and the Kiev and the Ukrainian government would just surrender and avoid all this bloodshed by surrendering. But that didn't happen. The small Russian troop unit was fought back. I don't think Russia ever really wanted Kiev. I could be wrong. Again, my opinion. But I don't think they want to rule over Kiev. They will if they have to. I don't think they want to. But again, that's just my opinion. To put a puppet in, well, like Zelensky is the puppet of the West. I mean, there's only 2 presidents in the entire world that aren't puppets. You want to guess who they are? There used to be 3 presidents that aren't puppets, but now there are only 2. There is 2 presidents in the entire world that are not puppets. That's it. I will let the chat guess who they are. No, they sent like 10,000 troops. That's a small military force. Russia has over 100,000 in Ukraine. They sent 10,000 into Kiev, and they completely failed. Erdogan, yeah, you're right. Okay, let's make that 3. Sorry, Erdogan. Add Erdogan to the list. He's not a puppet. Erdogan's not a puppet. Erdogan is a 3rd. You are absolutely right. But you're welcome to guess the other 2. Bukele, yeah, that's true. Bukele's not, but Bukele is not, on a global stage. Putin, Erdogan, there's one more. Yeah, we can add Bukele to the list. India. India's pretty good. The Indian president's not a puppet. NG, correct. I mean, when Trump was president, Trump wasn't the puppet, but Biden is. So that's it. Those are your presidents. Those are the only non-puppet presidents. There's very few of them to go around. Very few to go around. The scary thing with Biden is that you don't know who the puppeteer is. That's the scary part. You don't know who the puppeteer is. Yeah, Modi's not. China has a lot of influence over Kim Jong. Russia has some as well. Well, Bitcoin ain't doing too hot right now. But again, it seems like people are upset that I believe that Russia will eventually stop voluntarily. And people, and so many people in the chat like Russia will not stop unless they're stopped. Well, if they stop voluntarily, what does that mean for your narrative, right? Does that mean Russia is like not as bad as you're making them out to be? Like, what happens if they stop voluntarily? Like how will your view change, right? Also, who's going to stop them? US is sending money, US is sending weapons, but the US public isn't happy. So this is a very interesting dynamic. So the US public is not happy that US is sending so much money and weapons to Ukraine, but 99% of that money and weapons don't actually make it to Ukraine. So Ukraine is actually super pissed off that the US is not actually sending them anything. They're just yapping their mouth and they're giving this money to their manufacturers that are skimming off of them, right? So Ukraine ain't really getting this shit. They get like 1 or 2 HIMARS. The Ukraine isn't really getting a lot of weapons. They're not really getting a lot of money. Meanwhile, the American public is getting pissed at the US government for sending so much money and weapons to Ukraine. So it's really creating this conflict between Zelensky and the US government. And I have no idea how that's going to implode. Yeah, it's a giant mess. And I think this mess is going to spread into Europe, which is why a lot of European capital is going to flee to the US. This is why the European currency is crumbling, because they know the war could reach them any minute. And then no one is going to trust in their currency or maintaining their currency. So the euro is crashing against the dollar, crashing hard against the dollar. So this is why this is important. I know you guys don't like my view on this situation, but this matters for finance and money and everything. That's a good point, Brian. I think this, okay, so there's a difference. I think Russia will stop on their own, and I think this whole thing could escalate and spread into Europe. Those are two independent things. I mean, the only reason Russia would want Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania is to control the water. I don't think Russia likes the fact that there is US Navy now right here. Not in Latvia, but I forgot where the ship docked, either in Estonia or in Lithuania. I think Lithuania. I don't think Russia likes the fact that there's US military all over this channel here. So that's the main reason why they would want this back. Oh, and the path to their own country with Kaliningrad. They would take this if it's a strategic move, and World War III in Europe has started. They'll need this strategic landmass. And they would also need to flip Turkey on their side to avoid any, American ships in here. Because they would have to get there through Turkey. Well, I agree. I don't think World War III would start over Ukraine, which is why no one is stopping Russia, and which is why I think they will just stop themselves if they make it this far, and then, negotiate something with Ukraine. I mean, Bitcoin has just dropped in price quite a bit. It was sitting right under 22K, but I don't like this 4-hour candle here. It's a very ugly looking candle. See, the reason why I doubt they would stop before these lines is because they don't want like Ukrainian weapons reaching Russian soil. Because if Ukraine starts firing past this line, they're still going to be, killing mostly their own people. Or former Ukrainians that may be Russians, maybe an independent country, I have no idea. But they want a bigger buffer zone from their own 2021 citizens or younger. Like if you were a Russian citizen in 2021, they want to make sure that Ukraine weapons cannot reach your home. That's why I think they're going to look to take a big chunk. Because even after this is over, the bad blood between Russians and Ukrainians is going to reign for 100 years. Like the bad blood between Russians and Ukrainians, that's never going to change. And a huge percentage is like related to each other. Like I'm half and half. I don't really know who David Hunter is. So I have no opinion. S&P 6,000, that sounds like what I'm thinking. I mean, there it is, right? Look at that. S&P 6,000. That's exactly where I draw my line. And then I expect it to accelerate to 12. I don't expect a global bust in 2023. I expect a global bust in like 2028, 26. And by then, I think the S&P could be way higher. It's not really much of a melt up going to 6,000. It's literally slightly above the prior swing high. The prior swing high was 5,000. So it's 20% higher. Whoop-de-doo. All right, guys, I'm gonna let it go. We're gonna stop here. I clearly need to be busier, so I talk about the Russia-Ukraine situation less. But it's gonna matter. I know it's not much is talked about it right now, but it's gonna matter. Does 6K include recession? Yeah, it's possible. Stock market can go up in a recession due to inflation. Bye, guys. See you all on the next one.